So The Athletic put out an article called How the $445 Million Mets, the most expensive team in Major League history, crashed and burned. And so that made the rounds, caused some waves. And I mean, a lot of quotes from the players that are, some of which were a little surprising, but then you see where we are in terms of like our record, where we're finishing. And you can kind of, it makes sense now with these quotes. June was one of the worst months in franchise history. We lost 14 and a half games in the NL East standing to Atlanta. Oh my God. Tommy Pham was kind of the one identified player who really spoke out about what he thought the concerns were and what the issues were with the team. He's known for bringing an edge. He has a strong work ethic and little tolerance for lackadaisical effort. And so he was not too fond of how the Mets approached even things like batting practice, and so he eventually told Francisco Lindor, out of all the teams I played on, this is the least hardest working group of position players I have ever played with. Tommy Pham's 35. He's played with the Cardinals. He's been around the league. That's a pretty damning statement. I don't know, and I'd have to agree with that, because it seemed like they were taking, and I mean, if you had watched and listened to a lot of the podcasts before where I talk about the Mets, and when we were going through the worst of the worst in May and June, and a lot of losing streaks, a lot of bad baseball, I was just saying, it's a matter of time. It's just this is our bad section, our rough patch. It's really bad right now, but this is not the season. Like, this is not how they play. They're going to play for the rest of the season. Of course, they pretty much did. But it feels like the players took that same kind of approach and like didn't have a sense of urgency. Like, we'll figure it out. Well, it's a little bit of, it's just a nasty stretch. We'll pull out of it. It's fine. Either like the dog wearing the hat with the coffee mug in the burning room meme, like, it's fine. Or as Pete Alonso did, which was just blame himself and like really be so negative toward himself and blaming himself for all the woes offensively. It's like one of those two things, after Pham got traded to the Diamondbacks, Lindor said to Pham, "Hey man, thank you for teaching me how to work hard again." I don't want to hear that, I mean, who knows if it's true? Some people question the sanity of Tommy Pham. I'm not. But if that is true, woof, dude. That's not what you want to hear from a guy who's pretty much your captain, or has been like unofficially, given the title of captain. Francisco Lindor. I mean, he has the biggest, most expensive contract on the team. And so I think that means a lot to the team, because they look up to you, because they were like, wow, for someone to put that kind of investment into a person, you must be pretty important. You must be pretty valuable. So as much as maybe Lindor doesn't think he's a leader, or maybe he's trying to be a leader, that's not a great quote. Teach me how to work hard again. What are we doing? We just, literally, I think maybe the team was so high on their own supply that they figured they could coast. Like it just come to them like it came to them last season in terms of like the good fortune bounces going their way. I don't know. There's a question in the article, which is a pretty interesting question. Has any group regressed this much from one year to the next? Pretty much, with the exception of a few positions, the same group of players from last season, and pretty much to a player, almost all of them underperformed below their like career averages. And I know no excuses, play like a champion. I get it, but you can't overlook the significance of the injuries. I thought that we could get away with not having Edwin Diaz for pretty much the entire season. When he got hurt, I was bummed. I was devastated. I was like, that's so Mets. Of course that would happen. Of course we'd be celebrating the WBC. Of course. But I still thought I wasn't like willing to throw the towel in and be like, oh, the season's over. before it's even gotten started. I'd said we're probably not going to win 100 games. We'll be lucky to win 90 games, but we're still a playoff team. So if you have Diaz, last year his WAR was 3.2. That's 3 wins. Jose Quintana, you lost him for most of the season to bone graft surgery. He's worth a win or two. Starling Marte was not healthy. And so it's not the Starling Marte that we knew and loved last year when he had a 3.8 WAR. Justin Verlander had a 5.7 WAR last season. And his average WAR per season for his career is around 4. And he ended up having maybe the worst season he's had since being traded from Detroit to Houston in 2017. No, because he was a Cy Young finalist that year. Finished 5th, but maybe dating back to 2014 with Detroit. Max Scherzer had a 5+, more than a 5 WAR last season, and an almost a 5 WAR per season over the duration of his 16-year career. And he's had maybe his worst season since 2011 in Detroit. So we're talking about like historically bad season performances from guys that don't normally do that. It's an anomaly, because if Diaz doesn't get hurt, if Quintana doesn't need surgery, if Marte doesn't need double groin surgery, because I don't know, he's just humping and pumping a little bit too hard over there. If Verlander performs up to what his career average is, if Max Scherzer performs his career average, we're not in this position. I mean, you're looking at 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 13, 17. You're looking at least 10 more wins. If just those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys are healthy and playing average baseball for them, you're looking at 10 more wins. And right now we are the Marlins. We're 81 and something, and we're, a game behind the wild card, which, yes, it's not where we didn't think we would be scratching it out for a playoff spot, but I'll for sure take playoffs over no playoffs. The funniest part of this article, though, was I guess when you get traded, it's like, once you're informed, things are in motion, like set in motion instantly. Like there's no waiting around. There's no, let me just finish this. Like you got to go, I guess, that moment. So when Mark Canha was traded to the Brewers, he said, I didn't get to finish Oppenheimer that day. So he's like, I guess, pulled out of a movie theater so that he could go win games for the Brew Crew, which I guess if I have to pick a team in the National League to root for in the world and root in the playoffs postseason, it's the Brewers, and in large part due to Mark Canha, who's just a really likable guy. And then the American League, Orioles. So if it was Orioles Brewers as a World Series, I'd be most happy. So, yeah, I mean, it's the worst team that money can buy. Different dynamic in terms of the clubhouse. That 92 clubhouse was a lot of troublemakers and just really not great behavior. This one, it just felt like, again, no fight, hardly any spirit, any enthusiasm, it just, they felt flat. We were just were waiting and waiting and waiting for them to become the team that they were last season, and it never happened. It was almost the complete opposite. Like they're probably not the same amount of situations, but in those situations last year we would have won them because someone comes through the clutch hit or clutch grab, throw, blah, 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 play. No one was doing that this season. I think if you look at the run scoring opportunities in close games, unless it was Francisco Alvarez or Pete Alonso, it seemed like we just, and even when we did, see, this is the other thing. Even when we did come through offensively in the clutch, our bullpen was simply detestable. It was just so bad. I mean, when you have a quote from Ottavino that's like, he would often say to Robertson, we just need to hang in there, and then the trumpets will come back one day. It's like, oh my God, this is so sad. Oh, we just need to hang in there. So, yeah. And I have to go back to, if at the deadline we were 500, we're not selling. I don't think. I think if we're at 500, we're not selling. And then that goes back to, the series against Detroit and the series against the Rockies. It really is those two series that you should have won. If you win those two series, you're probably 500 at the deadline. You probably don't sell off. Maybe people it looks like some of those players that we dealt were got back to normal or playing decent baseball. I don't know. I still feel like we would miss the playoffs. So yeah, that's the Athletic article.